I'm so out of it. I had started my chat without turning on the platform. My name is Francis Fox, and I'm a military mind control victim trained in remote viewing and a lot of other skills. And I'm very tired today. So, even though I am cancer and we can sound really self centered, the reason I say a lot of stories about myself has to do with the fact that I know that at some point, if not right now, at some point you're going to go, oh, I didn't know that. So I'm exhausted. There's a lot going on, but I realized um, when I was in my chat, Ask Francis this afternoon, because I was feeling so out of it and so tired, it just didn't make any sense for what I've done. So I sketched myself, and it turns out that my enemies are very angry at me because they can't get at me. They want answers, they want answers, they want answers. Like after Watergate, they want answers, and they'll do anything to get answers, except this time they can't get away with what they did the last time, which was to kidnap one of my kids. I actually don't know how long they had my 10-day-old infant, which they removed from my home in a cardboard box and said that we would return my child whenever I was willing to talk to them. These were CIA agents. And Washington had, you know the story already, prohibited me from speaking to them. The reason I'm bringing it up again is because today, probably that same group of people is very angry at me. What's the point? The point is that I bathe my dog. Oh, yeah, I want you to know what my routine is like. I have an issue with my back. I had a degenerative disc disease, which thank God I didn't work with medical doctors because I would be in a wheelchair the way they said I would be 40 years ago. I took care of it on my own, but there's certain things I shouldn't be doing, such as bending over for 15, 20 minutes to bathe my dog. So by the time I had finished, my back was hurting a lot, which is fine. I injected myself with homeopathy, Trameal, the number one homeopathic remedy in the world, and it's the number one for sports injuries. So if you ever hurt yourself, sprain an ankle, or hit yourself or have a car accident, you need to take Trameal because it deals with the emotional component also. Yes, I know I'm ADD, but I don't think I lost the thread of what I'm going to tell you. So anyway, my back, before I got to the Trameal, after I got to the Trameal, my back was still hurting. A hot pack, I'm doing my chat, and my back is killing me, and I'm exhausted, and I want to collapse. So I went, let me sketch myself. My enemies are very angry. They want information now. And because I have a weakness in my lower back that I guess creates a portal in my aura, when somebody is very focused on me and very angry, I get a backache. And today it was terrible. I injected myself 3 times, once an hour for 3 hours. And I had a back thing with heat since probably 10 o'clock this morning, and it's still an issue. They're very angry. So, and I learned this years ago that I would, every once in a while, I'd get a backache and I couldn't understand what was it that I had done, because today I do understand. And it was usually a sister of mine who was very angry at me. And then other times it was other people. So you can know that where you have a weakness, like a disease, an injury, it can hurt a lot if somebody becomes very angry because of those vectors that Elon Musk talks about. These vectors, let me show you. That's the karate guy paying attention to the board that he's going to break, and he has collected chi, and that is what you use to create miracles. But it gives you more strength than what you have as an individual human being. So anyway, so I'm like a bit white. I also realized I have got to make a decision because my lease is going to be up in a couple of months. I sold my house because of the Cuban mafia, and I moved I don't know how many times, and I realized that one of the reasons a lot of people think I'm nuts is because the amount of times I've moved. I have only moved to try to get away from my enemies. And I've done it enough times. This would be 6 times since I sold my home like 7 years ago. It's a lot. And for a cancer, I lived in my home for 22 years with my family. The home I sold, I was there for 15. I'm a long termer. I'm not a fly by night, but things would get so bad. I can't stay here. So that has me, I think, also a little bit down. Anyway, I did the map of the United States. It looks really good. I mean, if you look at the news, oh my God, everything is a mess. Hmm, looks really good. So this is what it says. It says Trump wins and the world and the rest of the world loses. So if somebody thinks that Trump has been a bit of a bully with the rest of the world, which sometimes I have thought that a little bit, I don't want us to lose along with the rest of the world. And he's not winning because he took something from somebody. He's winning because he's writing things so that they are more fair. Anyway, California, what are we going to do with California? I don't know, but it wouldn't be at all surprising if they have a big earthquake and it breaks off of. It's not surprising. The energies, there's a weakness there that is not improving. We do have the Mayan pyramids coming up, and those offer protection and stability in the Gulf of America, which is where American scientists are hysterical because the ocean floor has collapsed. And it collapsed. They noticed the collapse after I had started to draw this. This has helped me a lot to kind of feel grounded about the things that I say, because a lot of times I say things that it's just like, this is completely ridiculous. Mayan pyramids in the Gulf of America? Come on. And yet, offering stability against what? Ocean floor collapse. Okay, then I'm going to say something important, and so my nose starts to bother me. Ground zero for the United States is Florida. What does that mean? I don't know. But at least it's not all red the way it was the other day. We did work on it to reduce the fire from, I believe it would have been Saturday. I think somebody got arrested or somebody realized that they might get arrested in Florida, which is a lot of bad people in Florida. And so they broke, something broke in the Gulf of America due to the rage. I'm rifling here to see if I can quickly, here it is, show you what I sketched. That happened, and it's in Spanish because it happened during one of my chats. It says the arrests, and it's the beginning of a lot of arrests, and in Florida, it created a lot of rage, like after 9/11, and it broke something here. So, but Florida looks good again. But it says Florida's ground zero for the future. So however Florida goes, the rest of the country's going to go. Okay, and you can go, oh, okay, that's good. Did you know that there's so many CIA agents moved to Florida having to do with after the Bay of Pigs that they drove up real estate prices. It was the first real estate boom in Florida was due to the sheer volume of CIA agents, probably FBI also, that moved to South Florida. So that's a lot of people. And then you have the fact that there's a portal here, which is where you have the Tampa Disney space shuttle. That whole section is a portal. I suspect that's the reason why the space shuttle's there. I know that's the reason why Disney is there. You get the kids there in a portal, they're yours. And then you have Tampa, which is one of the mind control bases, which I'm assuming you already know that. All you have to do is track my history or the history of mind control victims, what bases they were at, and you will know that is a mind control base because they wouldn't send us there unless it was a mind control base. And you wouldn't have military there that were not part of the process. Okay, so, but I'm sure you already know that. So, what is it that I want to say to you today other than a lot of things? I would like to suggest that you look at the video, the Michael Jackson video called Earth, EARTH. It won an award in Europe decades ago. Nobody's heard of it in the United States. If you look at it, I would like for you to remember the power of the mind and what I'm going to say to you now. So I think when I may get the sequence a little bit off. Power is the ability to do and the ability to act, and you can use it nicely or you can be abusive, but power is not abuse. Okay? It's the ability to do, to act. That's in the dictionary. So, why am I doing this? I'm usually doing this because people are attacking me or hating me a lot. I make it shorter and I want to get it all the way up here. So, power in the planet, I think, initially was land. And at some point, it became factories. And at another point, it became money. And then in modern times, it became information. Today, power is an accumulation of minds, MINDS. Now, I have not said this often, and I said it, I think, yesterday or today. I'm very careful because that's very powerful information. Minds, MINDS. That's power today. It's more important than land, money, factories, and information. What are all the cults about? Controlling people's minds. All the disinformation is to control the minds. All the magic via additives, etc., that's in our food is to control our minds, to make them weaker, but then we still have a physical body that's working for the system. Very important to recognize the importance of the mind. It's important that we get to the general public the information that's in the original Lord's Prayer about the strings, which is what string theory is about, but don't even bother with the scientists, because if you tell them that the string theory is in the Lord's Prayer, they're not going to be able to handle that, because what are they going to do with that? Well, I deciphered it. I want to get it out to the public. And I am just now, as I'm speaking, putting together the fact that I'm a very powerful person. But it's not just my mind. I have a movement that I started. I don't control them. I teach them. They follow me. We learn a lot of stuff together. And because of them, I can have a piece of information that's information. I'm sure it's right. But then I give it to them and they apply it, and then they come back and it works. So this is the type of thing we need to understand and we need to develop. The way to use this power that is positive rather than the way the cults use it, which is they have these people's minds under control. All those people that are coming up on that Diddy trial, they didn't they may have made some kind of a bad decision, whatever. Okay? They didn't sign up for all of this. Everything that they went through, they didn't sign up for. I didn't sign up for, oh, I was born into the program, but let's say I started later. I didn't sign up for all of that stuff. It's taking away free will, and it's turning your power of your mind. The mind creates reality. It really does. Turning it over to someone else, and then they weaponize it. So it's real important to get everything having to do with the mind, not just protect it. RFK, we need to build a shrine to him. We need to protect him. If he does something wrong, we need to forgive him. We all do wrong things. I'm not saying that he did, but what I'm saying is they're going to be looking for any weakness to be able to take him down. And we have the injections that take us down in terms of mind. And then we have the lack of information, such as I'm struggling with a backache, which is 90% better at this point, but it is somebody else's mind that is focused on me with rage that is creating my backache. So I could end up, which obviously I'm not going to do, go to the doctor. I don't know. I think I must have had some kind of a setback. And I haven't gone to a doctor for my back in 40 years. The day the doctor said to me, Francis, I told you after the surgery, you're going to end up in a wheelchair 40 years ago. That's it, Francis, accept it. I swear that's what the man said. But he said it to my husband right when he got out of surgery. They had finished surgery on me. He said that to me and I said, okay, thanks. And I walked out of there and I never went back to a doctor for my back. And I'm not in a wheelchair. I am not disabled. I could classify, I guess, if I wanted to. No, I couldn't. I'm totally functional because I didn't turn myself over to people who have the worst medical system of the 17 most advanced countries in the world. So we need to get this whole thing about string theory, which is the strings from string theory are this that are in the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. Those strings, what they channel is the human mind. So we need it's really easy, as is everything that's real important. It's very simple. We need to I already have a grip on it. We need to get this simple information out to everybody. Via me, somebody else, it doesn't matter. So that everybody's in charge of their own mind and then they learn the stuff that's good for them. Now, our enemies already know that they can poison your mind via food. And if they're new people, where did I learn the thing about the poison? When I had a shaman visit me for a week from Mexico and he would not accept any food. I thought maybe he was on a diet. But after several days, I said, listen, what's going on with the food? You're not accepting anything. Is there a problem? And he said, well, in Mexico, we know that the easiest way to kill your enemy is to put magic in their food. Black magic. Magic. He just said magic. And so I looked at him. I said, so you think I'm your enemy? And he looked at me and said, no, let me have that plate of food. But I wasn't really aware of that. But I know there's examples, too many examples. There's too many examples of men being married to women that they wouldn't have married if the women hadn't put something in their food. Okay. And we already know, or I analyzed and diagnosed, that Adam Schiff got several people in Congress under his mind control via dinners or a dinner that he had or gave or was at and put stuff in the food. So thank you, RFK. Protect this man, protect this man, and protect this man. So I want to go and I want to remind you that the Mayan prophecy, the Tortuguero prophecy, totally accurate. That's how the planet's going to end. And that prophecy says it's the apocalyptic ending where everything is red and people are killing each other and people are in misery and in agony and it's horrible. According to the Tortuguero prophecy, it has to do with when our dark side, human dark sides come up and then we can't take it. So what's happening now? Shame from the people that is now Elon and Trump and everybody else has exposed as having stolen. And they may have been mind controlled and now they're ashamed, but they're not going to stand up and say, I'm so sorry, I'm ashamed, because I'm so sorry means that they could get into jail quicker. And I'm ashamed is something that most people don't deal with. Shame has the lowest vibration of all of the emotions, the lowest, lower than hate. If you can fill somebody with shame, if you can figure out how to set it up to where somebody's ashamed, you have total control over them. People can't deal with it. So now for what's important. I've been thinking about this oil thing a lot. In Venezuela, they have something called the black stain, Stain. In Spanish, it's La Mancha Negra. And it has to do with drilling into earth to pull up petroleum. And you drill so deep that some stuff comes out in from the other dimensions that doesn't work. This La Mancha Negra, black stain, and I know I've said this before here, but there's a lot of new people, 2 new people. I'm just joking. They have that on the highway between Caracas, the capital of Venezuela, and the airport. And 2,000 people have died on that piece of road. And the government cleans it up. It always comes back. The thing that keeps it clear the longest is limestone. Remember that. Limestone, earth element. Turns out that the Mayans in northern Guatemala had homes that had their flooring, what was under their feet, was several feet of limestone. But they were in a swamp, so it makes sense. Swamps, spirits. You know how horror movies are in cemeteries or swamps, because that's where spirits are. Mother Earth puts lost spirits in swamps for them to heal, to clear, and then I don't know, I guess they go off to their next destination. So the Mayans built in swamp. You don't live on swamp, but they build their houses on, or their homes or their buildings on limestone, but not just limestone, 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 limestone. So I don't know how whoever can use that, but it's important to know. Earth element, protection from spirits, Lord's Prayer. It doesn't say protect us from evil. Okay? It says help us to not disassociate. And it's a not disassociate from the earth, to be grounded, landed. Earth element, limestone, got it. Next. I think that we're going to be able to, I'm just going to talk, which means I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth, but I think I can count on it because I follow myself and check myself and I think we're going to be able to get away for the whole oil thing with crystals. I think we're going to figure out how to harness the energy of crystals to run technology, cars. Do they already do that? I don't think so, because if they knew how to do it, I think we would all know it. But I certainly, if somebody's going to do research on that, I would love to do research on that. Turns out I'm very connected to Earth. Okay, so this is my last piece of information. Gulf of Mexico, Mayan pyramids, Mayan calendar. I'm connecting it to today. I'm not trying to get you into archaeology or the Mayans. And I think it has to do with the whole drilling for oil. So we need oil because 66% of petroleum is used for transportation. I looked that up. I'm so proud of myself. I remembered the number. So BP Oil was drilling in the Gulf of Mexico, and they drilled 5,000 feet below the ocean floor, that ocean floor that just collapsed. And they couldn't stop the oil from coming up. Remember, it was open for months. They had cameras on it. The ocean floor with stuff coming up. It was a big deal. They were screaming across the planet, an ecological disaster. It's also a spiritual disaster. So when I would look at those cameras and at those, the videos the cameras were trained on them 24/7 on that accident site. And there would be beings that would be coming up from there, and they were long, elongated, and kind of transparent. I wasn't the only one that saw them. And it was so bad that there was some very ugly incidents in the Gulf of Mexico having to do with dismembering dolphins, and all sorts of stuff that the public was never allowed to find out about. Of course not. We don't want you to worry your pretty little head about that. And we don't have the answers. So why on earth should we tell you? For us to look stupid? No. So nobody really found out about that. When that oil accident happened, I didn't know what was going on. I was hysterical. I wanted so desperately to get down there on a boat. I don't know what I thought I might do, but I wanted to be there. I wasn't able to. I can't even go to the corner, but at that time I had more freedom. And I remembered that this monk whose father had lived in a cave for 17 years was visiting Miami, and he was very nice. He was huge. Oh my God, he was the size of the door. And he wanted to go to the Gulf of Mexico. This was before the accident. And we were all like, none of us had a boat. None of the group that was working with him and taking him around. We didn't understand, why would he want to go to the Gulf of Mexico? But Buddhist monks don't talk. So we couldn't get anything out of him. And then several months later, there was the accident. So what's the big deal with that accident? It broke a dimensional wall, a membrane to the underworld. And it's the reason why the Mayans said we needed a new calendar. This was 2005, I believe. So we no longer have a membrane, an intact membrane, separating our life from the physical dimension with the underworld. That's a big problem. The underworld is hell in the Catholic Church, in all traditions. And then in December 21st, 2012, supermassive black hole Sagittarius A aligned with planet Earth totally for 8 minutes and shot down this sewage, spiritual sewage, onto planet Earth, and then continued its movement. It was just totally aligned with this planet for 8 minutes, and it screwed us up so badly. The Mayans knew that something was going to happen, or maybe they knew what was going to happen 5,000 years ago. They said, you need a new calendar. Why? Because we have a new vibration, and that vibration was an incredible augmentation of negativity, the energy of hell, had to do with perforating Earth. So when we talk about more drilling, and people talk about protecting the planet, yes, but it's really protecting the mind. It's protecting everything. It's damaging everything. So we need to put on our roller skates. I'm I'm getting deaf in this ear. Maybe somebody doesn't like what I'm saying. Something's going on here. Let me sketch it a second. Give me a second. I really don't like my life right now. I don't like the fact that I have to move, and it really doesn't make any sense for me to move any place in Miami now, does it? Let's see what's going on, because literally something is damaging my ear. Somebody's going, okay, 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 let her talk. So they stopped. Great. So we need to look at the whole issue of why it is that we should not be perforating Earth. Okay, but we do need that petroleum. No, we need the petroleum for energy. So is there another source of energy? Elon Musk comes up with electric cars. Now I understand even more, now that I went through the thought process, why it is that it's so important. But we need something to substitute the petroleum. And I think we should look at the crystals. I think there's a tremendous opportunity there that can be investigated, and I think it will play out. So here we go. And I'm going to do a little thing, and I want you to learn this. This is a little magic trick, which is what I'm here to do, to teach you magic and to give you background so you kind of believe me and then follow me, whatever. Um, so I think that crystals are going to be able to substitute petroleum. Do you see how easily that came out of my mouth? So now I'm going to make another statement that's not true, and let's see how easily it comes out of my mouth. I think that boots with straps can substitute petroleum. Well, I could barely get that out. Okay. I think that lighter fluid, see, can substitute petroleum. No. I think that when you say something that's true, I think that crystals can substitute petroleum. I think that crystals can substitute petroleum. I said it nicely and easily. So, what's another word that I can use that's not ridiculous like boots? I think that water can substitute. I think that I can't do it. I think that I can make myself do it. I think that I think that water can substitute petroleum. It's a lie. So I can't get it out. So you need to try that, whether you try it now or another point. Okay, so that's magic. I just taught you to recognize something and to use something from the other dimensions. So how can this help you? Somebody can tell you something, and it's important that you know, is this true or not? Oh my God, just go ahead and say it. Repeat it. And if you involve struggles to make it a statement, not a question, a statement, I think maybe water could substitute. Even as a question, I can't get it out. I think that um, I think that olive oil could substitute petroleum. Cannot do it. So if you want to know if something is true or not, you don't need anybody. Your body is a lie detector test. So I think that crystals are going to be able to substitute petroleum. See how easy it comes up? And I'd like to work on that. So the BP oil accident changed the destiny of the planet, and it had to do with perforating Earth. Maybe we need to think about that a lot. And then I want to give you another piece of information about black magic. Remember that my goal is to teach you the powers of the mind, and the maximum power of the mind is magic. Like, how did you do that? And then your intention can make it black magic, or it can just simply be what I want to teach, and which I am teaching, which is magic, the power of the mind. So let me tell you how the powerful people, and it'd be interesting. I should probably check and see if Adam Schiff also had this done, because I think he must have known my handler, who was Cuban. Adam Schiff's not Cuban, but I feel that they must have at some level been together, worked together, understood each other. I'm sure that Adam Schiff was here and my handler was here. The problem with my handler was expert in black magic. So you have the people in Washington that control him, but they don't control him. He controlled them through magic that they couldn't see. But anyway, my point, several years ago, I was trying to figure out, how did they last all these years with everything, that the rug being pulled out from under them 20 times, including now, and they're still standing? Which I might also apply to Adam Schiff. It turns out that there are ceremonies of protection that are done, and these that I have checked and followed are in Cuba. They're done by black magicians called paleros. Those are the really heavy duty ones. They even get into astrology. They're into mythology. They study for years before they can actually say that they are a palero. But they get paid thousands of dollars by individuals here. And what they do is they do some kind of a ceremony. I'm not familiar with, I don't like ceremonies. I don't like rituals. So everything I teach doesn't have a ritual, because I don't like it. So I don't look at the rituals, but when I have been to undo them, they have like some kind of a ritual that they do, and it's attached to a tree, like the roots of the tree, like the base of a tree. And that tree roots, here we go with the Lord's Prayer again, delivers from evil. Doesn't say that. It says help us not to disassociate, which means be rooted and grounded, earth element. So the person would be, their energy would be tied to the tree. In Cuba, in Haiti, in the Everglades, which you should take a look at the Everglades. There's lots going on there. Um, and the person, you can knock them down and they pop right back up again. So trees are very anchoring, obviously. And then you take it to a ritual, and you end up with magic. I remember one time when my children were small, I opened the back door and there was something hanging from a tree in the back. And what the heck is that? And it was whatever. And I said to my housekeeper nanny, I said, "What is that?" She said, "Oh, I like you so much and I want to make sure you're protected." So I did. I believed her in that moment that she thought that's what she was doing. I fired her anyway within a week. Now I understand that was probably not what she was doing. She was doing some kind of magic ritual that was probably not good. It was probably not against me because she did have a lot of affection for me, whatever, whatever. But she wasn't going to tell me she was doing magic on somebody. Oh, it's a protection thing. Trees are really important for anchoring, for protection for human beings. And so if you uproot the tree, the protection's gone. And then the person all of a sudden is like, what the heck happened here? All of a sudden, I'm not magical. All of a sudden, I'm vulnerable. All of a sudden, what doesn't even phase me but kills other people is now phasing me and killing me. These are all things we need to know. But the positive, the white magic, get yourself a tree. The house that I had for 15 years that I had to sell because right around the corner was an FBI agent. And across the street was somebody that he only lived there a couple of years. He had been hired by one of the TV stations. He worked for Disney and he was into black magic to such an extent that I had some Colombian friends, and Colombians are very familiar with the drug trafficking and everything. He had gotten these huge boulders and he put them all around his property so no car could drive onto his property. Why would a car drive onto his property? And his front door, he used to park in other words, this is his front door. It was a double door, it's a luxurious home, whatever. He would park his car right here. He had this huge property and he would park his car right here. You could barely get into the house because of his car. So I was like, this is not old Novo Riche. This is not. And my Colombian friend said, drug trafficking. I said, why? What? He said, it may not be drug trafficking, but they're definitely not into the good things because that's what the drug dealers do so that they can't get raided. You park your car in front of your front door. Not your driveway, not the side of the street, not in your garage. Your front doors cannot even open. I think I'm finished. I would like for you to look at the Michael Jackson video called Earth. It's on YouTube. I was going to download it and do something that's illegal, would show you, but I can't get it down. It's about the power of the mind. And it's very simple, and it won an award in Europe. But their food is not so poisoned. Here, it didn't make a ripple. This was obviously decades ago. So that's it. And we shall see each other again very quickly. Trump is winning. and the rest of the world loses. Florida's ground zero for the future. There are, and I'm sure everybody knows this, so it's not going to cost me my life, but there's child trafficking in Central Florida with tunnels and everything. I mean, I'm sure the important people already know that, and you're taking care of that. This is good. Okay, that's it. I feel better. Thank you. We shall see each other again. Bye.